So welcome everybody to weekend number 4 of Supper, Seattle Urban Permaculture. And it's June, and if you can believe it, we're pushing up on halfway through the course already. And I've been walking around the gardens and looking at all the things we've built and eating a lot out of the gardens. This morning I had garlic and onions and kale and chard out of the garden, and I had eggs from my neighbor next door, and it was really great. And then last night I dipped into the alcohols that we made and had some of those as a nightcap. We're getting the hands-on projects set up behind the scenes here at Urban Culture. Weekend number 4, we've got all the June and July workshops coming up. So strawberries and gray water and bees and all kinds of stuff. Okay, so it's July 5th. And we're with Tom Armstrong at New Earth Farm in Redmond, Washington. And we're here to take a tour of his acre-plus permaculture food forest annual production farm and homestead. And this is a really great example of suburban permaculture where we're way more room than we have in the city, but of course a lot less than a whole farm does. And what Tom's managed to do in a few short years is take a pretty empty acre and turn it into an incredibly productive combination, nut trees, fruit trees, understory, and then moving down into the sunny spots on the farm that have all the annuals production. And so the goal is to have somebody on the land helping with the farm. And so this, I think you want to make it a little bit bigger.
Yeah, this was actually built as an intern cabin, or during my divorce as my timeout cabin. We actually had, 2 years ago, we had a couple different interns on the property staying in tents, you know, one of them for 6 weeks. And so I just wanted to upgrade this, but as it turns out, with everything going on in my life, no one's actually been out here.
Yeah. So manageable.
It is. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Who the hell thought of it?
Who decided to put all this in?
Yeah. Oops. Anyway, it's all good. And so, but again, seriously, this was amazing. It just feels so good.
Well, what I'd like to be able to do with this, with our class over the next several months, is we'll just keep coming out on a regular basis, and then we'll get you in this habit of these cycles of harvests and management, and we'll bring you back stuff we make from the harvest, so you can see what they taste like and how they work, and you know.
Anyway, thanks again, guys. This was amazing. Look forward to seeing you guys. So this is just a quarter of the class?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's the middle of July in Seattle, Washington, and we're at Mel's house in Seward Park. And we've started our drought season. We have a wet, dry climate here in Seattle, and it's getting a lot drier in the summers. And so we spent today learning about how to catch water off a roof and how much capacity we have. He's got a 1,200-gallon tank system here that overflows off his roof and has multiple uses. He uses it for his...
We use it primarily to fill our hot tub seasonally, because it's nice, clean rainwater we get from the air, from the sky. We also use it to fill our pond and our cold plunge. Secondary purpose, we now have plumbed the tanks to be able to be put into the house to flush the toilets. So we're using that water there. And then we also have a system now that's running over to feed the garden that is redundant both from the standpoint of the rainwater, being able to pump from the pond up into the garden, as well as be able to use the pump system that we use to flush the toilets to be able to feed that water back out into the garden.
So any big rainstorm in Seattle is going to pretty much top off the system, is that right?
Very close.
Yep.
With a roof of about 1,500 square feet, right now we're only using about 500 square feet. A 1,500 square foot roof, about 1 inch of rain will give you almost a 600-gallon tank fill, which would be 2 of these tanks here.
Great. And then are you empty by the end of the summer?
Pretty close. Okay. Right now we're actually adding some additional tanks to be able to hold that. Recently here, as we look back through history, for the last 15-20 years, we're only about 60 days of drought in the midsummer till early September. We moved up to close to 85 days. That's almost a day a year that we continue to get drier, so we need to plan for a larger quantity of water.
Yeah.
storage.
So we had, last summer we had 90 days pretty much with no rain at all, the end of May all the way through the whole season.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to water your garden and get any productivity, then you definitely need to have secondary and tertiary water sources. Okay, thanks, Mel.
Thank
Lovely
you,
to be on
Jen.
your
Appreciate it.
property.
All right,
Can't wait to
thank
see how
you.
the system comes together.
Okay. We'll have you guys over for a little organic lunch.
Sounds good to me.
Lots of people have really beautiful things to say about forests, and I think we all share this really deep connection to them. And so I have this quote from Hermann Hesse that says, "For me, trees have always been the most penetrating teachers. Revere them when they live in tribes and families, in forests and groves. They struggle with all the forces of their lives for one thing only, to fulfill themselves according to their own laws, to build up their own forms to represent themselves. Nothing is holier, nothing is more exemplary than a beautiful, strong tree." Sometimes it's hard, I think, for me even still, to imagine like, what is my place in the forest, in designing trees and forest systems, and I still perceive this strong separation sometimes between me and nature, and it's like part of me just wants to leave the forest alone and let it do its thing and have that just be wild and abundant. And the more I understand permaculture, the more I'm realizing that I have a place in that role, and I can contribute and enhance that system that the trees are providing for.
You can always visit our website, permaculturenow.com, for more information, and we look forward to seeing you next month.